Hey guys, it's Randy, and I wanted to come to you this evening from my makeshift home office and talk to you a little bit about where we are as far as polls and the Electoral College map. You probably seen a lot of this on Facebook. If you watch cable news nonstop like I do, you're probably seeing a lot in the news about the Electoral College map. The first thing I want to do is kind of explain the Electoral College map for those of you who don't understand it, and then I want to show you where the Electoral College map is as far as polls go, and then I want to show you what my prediction is for November. And we have 84 days before we all go to the polls, and so a lot can change between now and then. But I was pretty darn close in the Democratic primary with my predictions, and I'm hoping I can get close in the November election too. So first, let me talk about the Electoral College. For those of you who don't know what that is or what it really does, the Electoral College is the way that we vote for our presidents in our elections every 4 years. What happens is there is an Electoral College who votes for the person who wins that state, and that's primarily what they do. And so each state has a certain number of Electoral College votes um, based on population, and so that's why you hear people fighting for states more like Ohio than they are fighting for South Dakota per se. So when a candidate wins that state, then the Electoral College will give those Electoral College votes to that candidate. So when you are watching videos that talk about national polls and the Electoral College, you have to be very careful because we don't vote on a national scale. We vote state by state. So there are a lot of YouTube videos out there, and a lot of them, unfortunately, are wrong, and they are done by Trump supporters, most of them. And they are talking about where the national polls are and what the map would look like if the polls moved. And so, per se, if there's one out right now, I was watching, and he goes through and he explains in a very eloquent way. But if Trump gets a point above her, he gets these states. If he gets 5 points above her, he gets these states, and that's just not the way it works. We vote state by state, and each state is its own beast, if you will. There are states that are primarily red and primarily blue every single election cycle, but for the most part, a state is going to vote how a state votes, and just because a national poll has Hillary up 9 does not mean that she's going to win South Carolina or South Dakota or Montana. So that's kind of how the Electoral College works. You need 270 to win the president with the presidential election, and there's a few paths to get there. Democrats all start with an advantage because primarily there are two states that always have voted blue for a very long time, and that's California and New York. But we also have Oregon, Washington, the Northeast. Pennsylvania has voted blue pretty reliably for a long time. Then you've got Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Illinois, who primarily vote blue. So there's a blue wall, and those states add up to more electoral votes than the red wall, if you will, which are states like Utah, Idaho, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama. I feel like I'm singing a song here. So that's kind of how the Electoral College works. So now let's talk about where we are with polls and what the Electoral College map looks at this moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually kind of flip over to the Electoral College map real quick. All right, so here is what it's going to look like, or what it would look like if the election were held today. So every state in blue are the states that Hillary Clinton is leading in, and every state in red are the states that Donald Trump is leading in. I have not changed any of the states that they are tied in. That's with in the margin of error or just tied in general. So, for instance, like Missouri, there are polls that have Trump up by one, a poll that has Hillary up by one. But I'm not changing that state. I'm going to leave that red. And the reason is because we haven't voted for a Democratic president since the 90s. So we're going to go ahead and leave that there. But as far as polls go, this is what you're looking at right now. You're looking at Clinton at 374 Electoral College votes to Trump's 164. Hillary Clinton is right now in a really good spot in each individual state polls. For instance, of course, like I said, she is holding the blue wall, and she's ahead in Iowa by 4. She's ahead in Ohio by 4. She's ahead in Virginia and North Carolina by double digits. She's ahead in Georgia by 4, Florida by 6, and Arizona by 4, and Colorado by double digits, and Nevada by 6. The Clinton campaign has already pulled out of Virginia and Colorado. They believe those states are solidly blue, and I have to agree with them on that. Virginia, obviously, is a state where Hillary's running mate is from. He was a mayor, a lieutenant governor, and governor of that state. So there's a lot of deep Tim Kaine support in Virginia. Plus, that's a state that has voted blue the last 2 presidential elections. That is a state that I believe is not going to be able to be flipped this election cycle. The other states that are interesting are Georgia and Arizona. These 2 states are states that have been reliably red states, but there are polls that show Hillary Clinton up. So if the election were held today and each individual state voted as the polls have said they would vote, this is what the electoral map would look like. Now, there are some other interesting things going on in a few other states. For instance, a poll came out just the other day, yesterday or the day before, which had Hillary within 6 points in Texas. Now, a 6-point win in a state is a pretty great win. However, that's when you're talking about a deep red state like Texas, if you're that close in Texas, if Hillary Clinton can close that gap down to, say, 3 or 2, that would be a state where the Trump campaign would need to be on defense. That's a state they have to win. They cannot win the presidential election without Texas. There are just too many electoral votes there. Georgia is very interesting. There are multiple polls that show Hillary up. So, and with the changing demographics there, the large African-American population, that's a state the Hillary campaign believes they can win as an end is in play, and they're putting money in that state. Arizona, the same thing. Large Latino population, changing demographics again. That's a state they believe they can win. North Carolina is interesting. North Carolina is a state that voted for Mitt Romney in 2012, but voted for Barack Obama in 2008. And both of those elections were close. But as of right now, it is showing Hillary Clinton up by double digits. So I just want to go through some of the states that the Trump campaign, of course, if you've been paying attention, they went through a shake-up. I want to go through a few of the states that they are, as of tonight, going to focus on. They're going to focus on Iowa, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. Now, here's the problem with that. If, let's just say, just for the sake of the Trump campaign, let's just say that they flip all of those states. As you can see, Hillary still wins. They can flip those large states, and Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida are states that have been, called states that are must-win states for either candidate to win the presidency. And as you can see, they can flip all of those states and still lose. But like I said, Virginia, I believe, is off the table. So we're going to go ahead and give that one to Hillary. Georgia is a state that's going to be hard for Hillary to flip, but I believe it's possible. But let's go ahead and Just because that state has been very red, we're going to go ahead and give that to Trump. Arizona, the same thing. That state has been reliably red for a long time. Let's go ahead and give that to Trump too. But if we do that, Pennsylvania has Hillary up by double digits right now, and we're going to go ahead and give that to her because that state has been reliably blue. If he were able to flip Iowa, Ohio, and Florida, he would still, again, lose the election. So this is where we're at right now with the Electoral College as far as polls go. And like I said, anything can change in the next 84 days, but it doesn't look like it's changing much, and I don't believe it's going to change until the debates. I think that these polls are pretty much baked in, and I also know that in a lot of these states, Trump doesn't have a single campaign office at all. Some states like Florida, he only has one, and that's unheard of. I think Mitt Romney, when I heard last, he had 12. So there is no ground game in a lot of these states, and Hillary Clinton has been in these states since before April. And so she's got thousands and thousands of volunteers and a really aggressive ground game, a get out the vote ground game, and a early vote ground game in a lot of these states. And I think that's what's playing into these polls. But let's talk about where I think the election is going to be come November. And I'm going to do a pretty I would say liberal projection here. I believe that Hillary Clinton will come up and be able to flip Arizona, Georgia. I think that she's going to be able to flip North Carolina. Remember, that's a state that voted for Mitt Romney 4 years ago, but it has her up double digits. I think that she can flip that state. I think that she will barely win Ohio, and the reason why I say barely is because there's a large white working class non-college educated voter base in Ohio, and that demographic is the one demographic where Trump is beating her. I believe that she will win Iowa. I believe that is also going to be an extremely close election. I think on election night, the states that we're going to be looking at well into the night, maybe even 11:30 at night to find out what the results are. I think that Iowa, Ohio, and Florida are going to be states that their results are going to come in late. That doesn't mean that she's not going to win it before those states come in, but I think those states are going to come in late. And I'm going to go ahead and give Hillary Georgia because the Trump campaign doesn't seem to want to keep Georgia. They don't have a campaign office, as I've heard. I've tried to research that. They don't have a campaign office in Georgia, and Georgia has been doing their Democratic Party there has been doing a great job of getting people registered to vote. The other thing that you'll want to kind of pay attention to on election night are Missouri and I would say Utah. Those are two states that won Missouri. The polls are very close, and Mitt Romney barely won Missouri. John McCain barely won Missouri, 8 years ago. I think that's a state that can be flipped, and I think if the campaign spends the right amount of money here and gets the ground game out here, and if Hillary can come to Missouri and be here, have a presence here, I think she can flip it. Utah is different. Utah is a state that honestly really does not like Donald Trump. There's a large Mormon base there, and they find him extremely offensive, especially his ban on Muslims. So, but as you're looking at right now, I think this is what the electoral map is going to look like on election night. I think that Hillary will win all the states in blue, and Donald Trump will win all the states in red. So I'm giving Hillary 374 electoral votes and Donald Trump 164. So now, after we've looked at the projections, I would like to know what you think, and if you have any input. Also, I'd like to know what questions you have about the Electoral College and about the polls. The last thing I want to say in this video is, if you have any questions about which polls I'm looking at, there is an app there in the website called Real Clear Politics. It's a great website. It's a great app that you can download on your phone. It's free. They have every single poll in there. So you can look at each individual poll, and then they do an average of all the polls and give you an idea where the candidate is at. The other website that I would pay attention to for the next 84 days is 538. Nate Silver, he's like a magician. He is fantastic at getting things right, and he has projected the winner in the last 2 election cycles, and he's done it very successfully. I believe that he projected every state Obama would win in 2012 and got everyone right, and the same happened in 2008. He might have got one wrong in 2012. I'm not sure, but he was almost spot on. And right now, Nate Silver has Hillary winning this election by 97%. So. But we can't get complacent about that. These polls look great. This electoral map looks great. I think this is how it's going to turn out, but that doesn't mean we can get complacent. So there are a few things that you can do. One, make sure to visit my Facebook page. I've put a link on my Facebook page to help you figure out how to get registered to vote in your state. If you are not registered, please visit that link, and it will give you all the details that you need. The other thing is visit HillaryClinton.com. Please create a profile for yourself. And the reason I say that is because you can then have events and host events and create them on the Hillary.com website, and you get a lot of exposure and get people involved that might not have been involved in the process. So it's a good way to create a lot of excitement in your community. And there you might meet people that you don't even know are Hillary Clinton supporters, and I've done that myself. So make sure we don't get complacent. Get registered to vote. We have to vote on November 8th. The other thing is we have to vote blue. Hillary Clinton, when she wins this election, I think that she's going to win it quite handily, unless something crazy happens in this election. She needs I dropped my pen. She needs a blue Congress. She needs a Democratic Congress, both the Senate and the House, so that we can get through the initiatives that she wants to get through. Green energy, infrastructure, immigration reform, extremely important. Affordable college. All of those important things that she's talking about now. She's not going to be able to do that with a Congress like we have currently, which wants to just stop any progress that's been happening. So if you like this video, please share it. Let me know that you liked it by clicking like. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, please put them in the comment section below, and I will try to answer any of them. Also, I will be back with another video. I'll be trying to make an election projection video every single week, judging by what the polls are saying, and I'm hoping that by November, my election projection as of right now is the one that we see on election night. So until next week, you guys have a wonderful night.